We're ready for our first panel, so I'm going to hand off to Jamar.
Thank you, Dana. All right, as she stated, we are going to have our opening panel. This is going to be essentially how we got here today and where are we going forward and what are those steps. This is going to be moderated by Stephen Gross. And Stephen, where are you? If you want to raise your hand. All right, he'll be moderating. Stephen is a professor emeritus of educational leadership at Temple University and founding director of New Deal. New Deal stands for Democratic Ethical Education Leadership Community Network. His research interests include initiating and sustaining deep democratic reform in schools, leadership mentoring, and turbulence theory. Stephen has authored many books, just to name a few. It's Democratic Ethical Leadership, Reclaiming School Reform, The Handbook of Ethical Educational Leadership, Ethical Leadership in Turbulent Times. Gross has been a distinguished visiting research scholar. He received his Willover Award for Excellence, the University's Council of Education Administration Master Professional Award, and was named an honorary member of Golden Key Institutional Honor Society. Stephen has stated, I hope to learn more about the research agendas of recent past and how to shape the current ones. I hope to also see how to participate in discussions that link student voice to researchers, to students, practitioners, NGOs, and the wider community, that each group can see their interrelationship with each other side of this panel, or what you're bringing. It sounds like we're already in a goal from our norms. And finally, he said, I hope that we can discuss ways of learning to work with turbulence. Given our times, I believe this is the most critical skill each of us need. So if everyone can give a warm welcome to Stephen.
I'd ask the panelists, could you please join me up here?
For folks who are going to be speaking in the microphones, it sounds a lot worse from here that it's cutting out. I know it's cutting out a little bit over there, but as the panelists are talking, realize it could be worse.
Just give us a second, we'll get it situated. Welcome, everybody. And I'm probably turning a little bit red. I'm embarrassed about that introduction, but thank you. I'm just a little shy. Anyway, it's my honor. It really is my honor to be a moderator for our conference opening panel. Since the conference title is Deepening Relationships Between Youth Research and Practice, it made good sense to assemble a highly talented, dynamic opening panel to discuss their perspectives on the issue of research. Since we are at the beginning of our time together, we specifically wanted to establish a baseline. Therefore, the title of our panel is A Brief History of Student Voice Research. It seems quite appropriate to me. I wanted to thank Dr. Jerusha Connor for pulling our wonderful panel together. Thank you, Jerusha. And I have sent questions ahead to all the panel members, and I've asked them to think about some of these ideas. And I can't wait to hear their responses, because they're coming from different places, as you'll hear in a second. I want to introduce them now, though, in alphabetical order.
No preference.
That's the fairest I know how to be, sorry. Helen Beatty, sitting here, is the founder of and executive director of Up for Learning, Unleashing the Power of Partnership for Learning. Her professional and academic life reflects a lifelong passion for elevating the voices of those who feel disempowered and voiceless, either in the health or education realms. Helen is a school psychologist, an educational consultant, focused on elevating the voices and roles of students in learning and school decision-making. Her organization has worked with 52 schools throughout Vermont this year, supporting youth adult teams to do authentic work as they contribute to school redesign. Thank you, Helen, for joining us. Michelle Mazzaroni is sitting to my left, and she describes herself this way. Graduated early in December from the University of Vermont, where I obtained a double bachelor degree in health and educational policy, and a double minor in special education and cultural and linguistic diversity. since I have been working for the Youth Development Program as their statewide coordinator, working with youth who have experience in the foster care system. I've been working with Up for Learning since I was a freshman in high school. I am determined to be a visionary leader who inspires meaningful change in a complex world by advocating for education, health equality, and the presence of justice. Dana Mitra, who none of you really know, Dr. Dana Mitra is Professor of Educational Policy Studies at the Pennsylvania State University. She recently served as the Students at the Center Distinguished Fellow with Jobs for the Future, the Nellie Mae Foundation. She is the founding editor of the International Journal of Student Voice and the co-editor of the American Journal of Education. Dana also works with faculty as a coach, focusing on writing productivity and moving through the tenure process, and presents workshops to pre-tenure faculty across the country. Dana has published over 30 papers and 2 books on the topics of student voice, civic engagement, and making a difference. She has a book entitled Civic Education in the Elementary Grades, Promoting Engagement in an Era of Accountability from Teachers College Press. She also has recently published a textbook in 2018, Educational Change and the Political Process, with Routledge Press. Shania Trammell, who's at my far left, is a Villanova University graduate with a degree in political science. For the past 3 years, Shania has served as youth board member and then as an advisor for Grip Tape. Shania has spent the past few years traveling across the country speaking on behalf of Grip Tape, and I went on the web, in case Grip Tape's not familiar to you. Grip Tape is an initiative committed to putting young people in the driver's seat of their learning. We create opportunities for youth to follow their passions as inventors, designers, and producers, actively constructing their path for success and supporting other young people to do the same. Last but certainly not least is Dr. Shelley Zion. He's sitting to my, not immediate right, but right. Dr. Zion is Professor of Urban Education in the Language, Literacy, and Socio-Cultural Education Department at Rowan University, and the founding Executive Director of the Center for Access, Success, and Equity. In this role, she leads the MA in Urban Education and Community Studies and the PhD in Education program, along with supporting research community partnerships focused on issues of access, success, and equity. Shelley's work is multidisciplinary, grounded in the social sciences, as it seeks to understand how institutions, social systems, and individual experiences create and sustain systems of power and privilege that ensure access for some while excluding others. Could we give the panel a hand? So as I said, I prepared 3 questions for the panel, and I'm going to pose the first question and then ask the panel in any order they want, but ask each one of them to please respond. My question is this: what attracted you to this field in the first place? What were the big research questions you've explored over the years? And where is the field gone since you started your own work? So I'm open to anybody to respond. Okay, Shania. Okay.
Hi, everyone. So as was briefly stated before, I work with Grip Tape, and right now I'm doing some consulting with them, so I'm going around the Philadelphia area and just kind of opening that channel for Philadelphia students. And what attracted me to the work, it was actually funny. I came into Villanova saying I'm going to law school and it's going to be great. And then I spent a summer in DC and I was like, wow, this is not it. So what happened, I actually had some education conference, classes, and I had the privilege of having Dr. Connor as one of my education professors and fell in love with it. But I had been working with Mark Murphy, who was the former Secretary of Education for Delaware, with his program called Grip Tape. And I had done some traveling, doing some speeches on the behalf of Mark and of the organization. And honestly, I loved it. I loved talking about education. I loved experiencing with youth what it was that was going on in their schools, talking to them about what they wanted to be improved upon, and then how we could go from there. So I was already in the field and then realized that I was in love with it, but I was in denial, is what I say. So some of the big research questions that we're focusing on right now essentially is we give youth the opportunity to go on their own learning journey. So this is outside of school. It's not meant to be with the curriculum, but it's an opportunity to explore, I guess, options that aren't offered within your regular curriculum. So students have the complete agency to choose what it is that they would like to do. And from there, what we've researched is exactly how much they learn within their journey, what they get out of it, and kind of the qualitative progress that they make outside of that. And the last question, I want to make sure that I answer all of these thoroughly.
Where's the field going since you started your work?
See, now that's interesting. So like I said, I've been all over the place speaking on behalf, and I've seen so many different schools who are taking youth agency and really adopting it as a culture. And I think that now I'm seeing more programs that are really focused on student agency. I think that as a country, some of us are really starting to understand that if students are going to be the people who are experiencing education, they should have a voice in said education. So what we're trying to do, and what I think that I'm seeing, is that there are more pockets of people who are trying to make sure that youth have the opportunity to have a voice in what affects them for a majority of their lives, I would say.
Great, thanks.
I absolutely love this question because it really made me think exactly what Greg was saying, like how did I get involved with this thought process and try to convince people of this realm. But my passion and love for education and educational reform has always been very highly charged and continuous. I remember when I was in 7th grade, that's kind of when a light bulb went off, and I remember going home to my parents being stressed and being like, why do some of my friends and my peers not like school? I don't understand. Like, I loved school. I always looked forward to going to school. And these were questions that took me a while to explore and numerous answers to, but I think that the credit for my love for this field definitely goes to Helen and Up for Learning, 100%. Because in 9th grade I became involved with YATS, which is Youth and Adults Transforming Schools Together, and also Getting to Y program, and I started to really get to sit down with classmates of mine and explore the question of why don't you like school, and I always understood, not always, but I slowly understood that the opportunities that were given to me and the privilege that I have wasn't equitable for everybody in the school. So just really like how do we change that? But the research question that I would say I've been most focused on is how do we, and I'm not just talking to everybody in this room, but as a society and as a nation, like Dana was saying, like why are we not on the level that everybody else is on? How do we empower students and youth to take control of their future and their education and truthfully become the change agents? I know that everyone in this room believes in youth, but why are we not all on the same page with that? So that's what I'm researching. What is the last part? It's the same thing as once you get going, man.
Where do you think the field's going since you got started?
Oh, I'm excited about this field. I'm excited about my generation and how we really were noticing that we have a voice and we're not willing to be silenced. So I'm definitely proud to be a millennial, which I don't think a lot of people are saying right now. But it's true. We are though, we're staying strong with our group. But I think that just speaking on behalf of Up for Learning is we're growing and we're progressing every single year. We started with 2 initiatives and we were laughing last night because we're going into the school year with 7, and we're expanding 7, 8, whatever it is, check it out. But I think that this field, I think that more people are catching on to it and it's progressing, which is really exciting to see.
Great, thank you.
So I have a lot more years to go back and reflect on, so I'm going to try to keep this short. I did spend the first 15 years of my professional life in the health arena, particularly around the most profound experiences around patients and family members dealing with cancer. And I was with the American Cancer Society. And And I guess the theme of those 15 years, both from that professional work and from losing my dad when I was 22 years old from cancer, was that I saw this element of healthcare industry